What would happen if you stopped eating sugar for 14 days? And I'm going to challenge you to try this out and see if you notice any benefits. This means that you need to quit all sugar additives, and all sugar substitutes. So with this, when you cut out sugar, you're going to have 7 systems that benefit from this. It's really going to help with your energy and your metabolism. So if you're feeling sluggish, feeling tired all the time, you could be consuming way too much sugar. The reason that this is because it will spike your blood sugar for a short period of time, but what happens is that you oversecrete insulin to drop your blood sugar and you become hypoglycemic, and that leads you to feeling lethargic and tired. This really messes with your hormonal systems and cortisol. So that is the first system that is affected by sugar. The next one is your skin. So your skin can actually be affected by too much sugar intake. This is especially important for somebody who has cystic acne, or they have a large amount of acne, or it's coming back in your later years, you're in your 30s and 40s. It will cause inflammation throughout your whole body, and sometimes it can get localized to the skin. This is more prominent in people who have liver issues, or you have a toxicity issue, because the liver is your primary detoxifier, and when it becomes overburdened by heavy metals, too much sugar consumption, the additives in your food, the environmental plastics and toxins that you're exposed to every day, then what happens is that your skin helps out and it pushes all of those toxins out through your skin, which causes it to become irritated. That can look like rashes, that can look like acne, multiple different skin issues. Even when we're talking about psoriasis, that can be a huge issue, and that's why I always recommend that you check your liver enzymes. And then weight is another one, especially when we see type 2 diabetics that have increased weight gain, increased adipose tissue. Sugar just gets converted into fat by the liver, which burdens it even more as far as detox systems go. And so by cutting out sugar, you can really control how much fat gain that you have. Then mental health, I think that this is a surprising one that maybe not everybody knows. It's burning out your dopamine systems, because you're getting such an easy response. Every time you eat sugar, you're secreting more and more dopamine. Just like with anything else, if you overstimulate, it can wear out, and those dopamine producing parts of your brain can become exhausted. So if you feel like you're depressed or you don't enjoy life as much, then you want to look at cutting out sugar as well. The next thing is immunity. So if you get sick chronically, if you have a constant phlegm in your throat and your sinuses, sugar feeds, guess what? Bacteria. Especially if you have a lot of green or yellow mucus, then what is happening is that your overconsumption of sugar can make antibiotics less effective, or more natural remedies like olive oregano or garlic less effective, because you're constantly feeding that bacteria. So it just continues to grow and grow. So if you have one of these chronic sinus infections, mucus in the back of your throat, you need to cut out sugar and give it 14 days and see what happens. The next one is sleep. So with sleep, if you're eating too much sugar before you go to bed, then that can cause you to become hyperactive. And then if you try going to bed and you're just sitting there, you can't get to sleep, you finally go to sleep, but then you wake up and you got to go pee. Those, especially when we talk about increased urination, increased hunger, increased thirst, those go along with diabetes, insulin resistance, and these blood sugar issues. So what happens is that you may eat all this food before you go to bed, it spikes your blood sugar, and then what will happen is it'll end up crashing through the middle of the night and you wake up and you can't get back to sleep. I recommend that most people, what you do is stop eating 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed. So if you go to bed at 9, stop eating at 6 or 7. If you go to bed at 10, you can do the math from there. But it's really going to help that sleep and help regulate your blood sugars throughout the night. The next one is cravings. So I have some past videos where I talk about gut health and the importance of this, and how candida is a huge issue when we talk about cravings for sugar. Because it is a yeast and fungus, it will cause you to crave more and more sugar. The best example that I can give most of my patients is that imagine that your microbiome are like your kids, And if you have thousands or millions of those kids and they say they all want sugar, you're probably going to give in, and you're going to say, hey, here you go, just leave me alone, I need a break. That's exactly what it's like when you have a candida infection from chronic antibiotic use. You have a yellow coated tongue, you have skin issues, you have chronic UTI infections. That is something that you need to look at, as well as brain fog when it comes to candida. I find it very commonly that, especially if you are a middle-aged woman, most of the time after you've had kids, you're really stressed out. That is something that happens just as you age. So I want to go back over all of these points just to explain them a little bit better. So the first one that we talked about was energy. The thing that you can do in order to help balance your blood sugar is that if you consume fats and fiber with your meals, then what will happen is that will actually prevent the spikes in your blood sugar. So it'll cause maybe just a little bit of rise, but you won't have that spike and then that crash afterwards. So put fats, put fibers with your foods. That will help a lot in that regulation. I just made a video yesterday talking about the 5 foods that I would eat if I wanted to really take control of my health and have the healthiest life as possible. So go check out that video where I covered those 5 foods. They're very good, high fiber, fatty foods, and they're really good like tasting as well. And then the next thing is weight loss. Now, this is something that I always look for is underlying candida infections, like we were just talking about earlier when it comes to excessive weight gain and you've tried everything and maybe your willpower is good enough for 2 or 3 weeks or maybe a month, but then you end up reverting right back and you gain that 20 or 30 pounds that you lost right back. And I know that that's one of the major concerns when we're talking about weight loss. Is this going to come back? Is this only a willpower based thing? And once that burns out, then you can't lose the weight anymore. So cutting out that sugar is going to be a great additive for your weight loss, and finding things like those high fiber and fatty foods can really make a huge difference. So there are a lot of studies coming out now that say that reducing sugar intake can lower your risk of depression and anxiety. And I know it's very hard. Sometimes I get caught up in family affairs or with, my fiance or, going out to certain events and you eat more than you want to, or you're tempted to eat sugary foods. And it's okay, but you don't want it to be something that it's on a regular basis. I am more of a 80-20 guy. So 80% of the time we really want to avoid sugar. 20% of the time, you can have a little bit. But if you're trying to reverse any type of chronic condition, then you really need to cut it out, and you need to cut it out for 14 to 30 days in order to see that benefit. The issue is that if you're eating all of these sugary foods, then like I said, it's going to burn out those dopamine producing parts of your brain because it's overstimulating them too much. Just like you can go to the gym too much and work out too much, you're going to get to the point where you're so sore and so tired and so weak that you just don't go to the gym at all. So slower is better as far as that goes. The next thing is that your immune system will get a boost because sugar is highly inflammatory, and guess what regulates inflammation? It's your immune system. So if you have more inflammation in your body, then the immune system is constantly combating that inflammation in your body. And you only have a finite amount of white blood cells in your body. So if they're fighting on this whole different front of inflammation spread out throughout your body, then what will happen is it makes you more susceptible to these foreign invaders, these bacteria, viruses, and parasites. So if you're chronically getting sick, definitely take a look and see how much sugar that you're consuming, because you want to cut that down, and that's going to give your immune system a break and let the troops regather so that they can go back out and fight the bad guys. The next one that we talked about was sleep quality. So With sugar, it will actually disrupt your hormones, like we talked about, especially when it comes to cortisol and your what's called your circadian rhythm, which will just throw you off, and then you're going to be up and down throughout the night. That can lead to you feeling more fatigued, more tired. And cortisol is one of the most important hormones in your body as far as regulatory hormones go. So think about cortisol as the master commander, and it affects your sex hormones, it affects blood pressure hormones, it affects your metabolism hormones. So it really affects everything, and that's why you should take it seriously when you're talking about regulating cortisol and cutting out sugar. And then the last one, if you can do this for 14 days, which I challenge you to do, if you can do 30 days, you won't even crave sugar anymore, and you're going to feel so much clearer, so much better. But if you can do it for 14 days, then I would love for you to come back, comment below on what your results were, and just say, I did it. I did 14 days with no sugar. Here's how I'm feeling. I'm feeling a lot better. Here's what's improved. And I guarantee you, if you just try it, even if you can just make it for a couple of days, you're going to start seeing the benefits, and you're going to want to continue that journey. So thank you so much. I hope that this was helpful. If you have any questions, just comment below, and I will see you all next time. Bye.